Then the mysterious part sets in. Because the handler of dangerous chemicals, the man who intuitively knew how to mix powders and get them to properly explode, apparently falls upon, if not hard times, at least looking for a better employment opportunity. Supposedly is given a job offer by the Mexican government to relocate himself, his wife, and his facilities to Mexico, where he is to establish either, depending on what you read, either a fireworks plant or an explosives plant. And in the preparation for that move, packing up materials out of a laboratory that he still occupies, very close, but not the same building, as this large house that he had originally had the OTO lodge in. He drops a fulminate of mercury capsule. It explodes. His arm is blown off of his body. He lives for an hour, and he dies. He dies at about age 49. Born in 1914, and he's 52. Yeah. So or 13, 14. He's in his late 40s. Much younger than a full career for sure. But dies in circumstances that, upon investigation, are very mysterious. How can you have a guy who knows the dangers of the materials with which he works drop it? Well, Ed Foreman says he thinks it was in May. It was a warm day. Parsons' hands were sweaty. It slipped. And he probably saw the capsule, you know, that expansion of time that occurs when something's going to happen. He probably watched the fulminate of mercury capsule drop to the floor and watched it in its slow descent and knew exactly what he was in for. He talked to people after the explosion. His last words were supposedly, "I'm not done yet." But he died, and then it's got a bizarre twist to it, his death. His mother, who lived only a short distance away, here in Pasadena, where this all occurred. All of this occurred in Pasadena. Parsons never left here. He was born here, he was raised here, he worked here, he died here. His mother has brought news of his death, and she commits suicide. She is living with an invalid, and in front of this other woman who is her nurse, I guess, or her companion, more or less, she commits suicide by taking a whole bunch of pills. And so the newspaper accounts of all of this has got a really bizarre twist to it. Son dies in explosion, mother commits suicide due to grief, kind of thing. Well, okay, so what's left of Parsons? Why is a crater on the moon named after him? The moon, after its craters were found after the Ranger Surveyor Apollo missions, one of the things was the moon's geographic features needed names. And one of the criteria, one of the groups of people for whom some of these places were named were individuals who had made major contributions to rocket science, to chemistry, to hardware, to flight organizations, going back in time. Russians worldwide, Germans, Americans. Parsons was recognized as being one of those people who should have that kind of a feature named after him because of the contributions, basic contributions he had made to both solid fuels and liquid. He made it at a time when there wasn't much to read. There wasn't other people to talk to. They were few and scattered a long ways apart from one another. So you get some simultaneous kind of developments. But he didn't know the results of what he was going to do. He thought of it first. He did it in a setting in which the application was evident, but how far it would go wasn't sure. He did it with the intent, space flight, leaving Earth, going other places, going to the moon, people hadn't quite thought of going to the planets, and for sure not to the stars. But leastwise, we'll start out with something that might be accomplishable if we only had the right setup. He thought about those kind of things. He was aware of what he was doing, and he's well honored by that lunar crater being named after him. On the other hand, today if you go out on the internet and enter the name Jack Parsons, the memory of Jack Parsons today is because of his magical work and because of the mystical things and his writings and the things that he accomplished and the contribution that he made in that area. Measured how? A much different kind of measuring device than that which would be held up against ammonium perchlorate and a castable solid fuel, or RFNA and gasoline as propellants. Frank Molina stood upon Jack Parsons' shoulders, and figuratively speaking, and changed gasoline to aniline and put it with RFNA and turned it into a major liquid rocket fuel for all of the earliest rockets in the United States. Charles Bartley, another chemist who came here to JPL, stood upon the shoulders of Jack Parsons, looked at asphalt as a binder and said, it's got its limits, let me find something else, and found polysulfide. And polysulfide fuels are still the basis of solid fuel motors today. Those big side boosters that are solid fuel boosters on the side of the shuttle when it takes off, the main motor and the center part of it is a liquid motor, but those canisters that are out on the side are solid fuel, polysulfide based rockets. Those rockets are directly related to Jack Parsons seeing asphalt being used on the roof of a building and saying, hey, that's an idea.